Hi there, everybody. My friend Howard and I are at the Paragon restaurant today, and the reason why Howard is with me today is because my brother couldn't do the filming, so Howard is filling in. We say hello, Howard. Thank you. And so we're at the Paragon, and that's Howard Carter, by the way. We're at the Paragon restaurant, and we're about to interview a very interesting person. Coming from the country of Greece and starting this establishment back in 1971, I think you will hear him say, something close to that anyway. He and his dad started this business, and well, they were at it for a long time. Now he's been at it for a long time. His dad passed away. Very good restaurant, well established, a lot of repeat customers. One of the best places to dine here in northern Colorado. There's a mix of Greek cuisine and American cuisine, but whatever they make, it is absolutely wonderful taste and a lot of hard work that goes into it to prepare that food and to get it to the customers. I guess that's one of the reasons why they have so many repeat customers for such a long period of time. I think George was telling me prior to this that he's seen people, grow up and have kids and then have grandkids. I mean, it's just been that type of a family environment at this restaurant. So when they say Paragon Family Restaurant, they really literally mean that. It's quite a bit like that. So I hope you enjoyed the interview. We're just really grateful for the opportunity. I am Payman Javadi, and the program's called Topics with Mr. Javadi. Thank you. I hope you enjoy it. Well, hello everybody. Like I was saying, we're at the Paragon Family Restaurant in Greeley, 10th Street, Greeley. What's the address exactly?
2725 West 10th Street.
2725 West 10th Street. And we are here with George. George, thank you for letting us do this.
My pleasure.
And George is the owner, of course.
Yes.
Interesting story, interesting man. A lot of history here.
Oh, thank you.
1971, I believe the place was started.
Yep.
If you can believe that, that's a long time.
Lifetime.
1971, that is a long time ago. But they've done that well. It's not easy in this business to stay year after year. And since 71, that ought to tell you something. That it's been a well-run business. So George, before I turn it over to you, I guess I am turning it over to you. Just tell us about the history of the place.
Well, the history of it is we came here in 1971, me and my cousin, and we opened up a restaurant on 26th and 85. It was called G&A Pancake House.
Yeah.
And we had that for about 6 months lease. At least ended. The landlord wanted a lot more money, and we decided to dissolve it. My cousin left, went to Chicago. I remained here. My father and I came and found this little place, was called the Ranch Restaurant. And my uncle came up from Denver, Paul, and helped us put the deal together to purchase it. And we did buy it from Sue Dixon, September 2nd, 1971. And we've been here ever since, basically.
So it was the fall of 1971.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can you picture that?
Well, Greeley, I believe at that time was 25,000, including the students.
Well, something like that.
Yeah.
Now it's like 110,000.
Kmart was next door, and there was nothing from there to Gibson's, which is now the Yellow Store. Or
that's
Food
right.
King. That
Boy,
was
the changes in this town have just been unbelievable.
Yes,
but thanks to you in part, because you brought business.
We brought something, everybody brought something, There weren't a lot of things happening, but they started to.
Mm-hmm.
I think Greeley had things going because he had open ground, a lot of water, and he had some good management as far as the city was at the time. They had people that can see photos, and it was family oriented. It was the hardest thing when we went in business in here. The hardest thing was to get the people that would come in to accept me. I was young, okay? They were older, there were a lot of Dutch people, German people.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And tell you what, it took a lot of respect to win them over. It wasn't a pushover,
No, it wasn't easy.
No, and we did. I mean, we worked really, really hard at it. In 1974, I believe was, 75, I opened up, we purchased a building downtown Greeley on 9th Street and 8th Avenue. And in 76, I started ranch number 2 down there.
Okay.
My dad stayed here with this one, and I went down there. We had that until 1983. This one was continue on. A gentleman walked in 1983 that wanted to purchase it. And at that time, I also had bought what used to be Four Seasons by a buddy of mine that was in real estate. And he says, hey, you want another restaurant? I said, why would I want another restaurant? He says, well, listen to me. He says, Sambo's is in bankruptcy, and there was Sambo's restaurant up the street where the country is now.
Yeah.
And at that time, it was called Four Seasons.
Oh, that's right. I remember that now. Now that you say it, I remember. Yeah.
And he says, why would I want it? He says, come on. He says, we can put a bid in with the court. He says, the bankruptcy let you know if you got it. So we did. We put a bid in, and we didn't hear nothing. For 2 years. He comes up to me after 2 years, which I had totally, almost had forgot it, okay? And he says to me, he says, guess what, you still want that? I said, what? What? He says, remember when we put in that bid on Sambo's? I said, yeah. He says, well, guess what, you want it. I said, oh my God. I said, I don't know. So we went down there and looked at it and stuff and came back, and I'm sitting thinking, I said, at that time my wife was my girlfriend. And she was working for me. And I said, I got it. I said, I'm going to send Evelyn, that was her name, down here. She's tough. She can handle this crowd. And I'll stay at the ranch, okay? Wow. That was the idea. And with that in mind, I proceeded to buy it. So we went ahead and bought it. And as I'm sitting there trying to figure all this out, what I'm going to do with it, how I'm going to fix it and all that, this guy walks in from Loveland. I didn't know him, little beard on it, and about 2:30, I was closing at 3 o'clock. He walked in, he says, excuse me, he says, how many meals do you sell a day? I looked at him, what you? I said, I don't know. I never count them. He says, well, how much money you make? I said, look, I don't know. I put it in this pocket. I go out party at night. If there's any left, it's my money. I said, excuse me, who are you? You know what I'm saying? You ask me questions. He says, I'm so-and-so from a real estate agent, and so-and-so would like to inquire your business. He says, would you sell? I have never sold a business in my life. Never, anything I want, I never sold it. I said, well, anything is possible. Now, in the back of my mind says, what a good time. I just got the other stupid thing down the street. I could be relieved here to go down there. So I told him about it. I said, there's a couple of things here to cook. And I said, I also own the other ranch with my father. And I said, I also purchased Four Seasons that's sitting there that I'm going to reopen. He says, we don't care about that. He says, we want to know if you're doing it. I said, sure. He says, what would you take for it? I said, well, let's sit down and negotiate with the bookkeeper. This is not what I want. I want the world,
Yeah,
and we did. We came to an agreement. He purchased it, and I went and remodeled Four Seasons, and I made it Country Inn, and I opened it. That started in 83, and I think we were open 8 months later.
George has been known to have the Paragon and also the Country Inn.
Oh yeah, I was adventurous.
And he was in a lot of restaurants that he had and he operated. It's even one restaurant is hard to handle.
It is.
Just imagine several. I mean, the guy has talent.
We were young. I had my father that backed me up. I had my cousin from Chicago that was my chef here when we made this the Paragon. Right. He's a wonderful guy.
Yeah.
I remember when we opened up the steakhouse, which used to be Shake's Pizza, and I made a deal with the guy. I didn't even tell him. I came in here, and he's sitting down, and I said, "You got $1,700?" He says, "Why would I have $1,700?" It's because I need it. He said, "Why you get $1,700? It was a lot of money back then."
Right then, yeah.
I said, "Just give me $1,700." He says, "You'll tell me, I won't give it to you." I said, "You don't give it to me, I won't tell you." So he finally did, And he says, I told him, I said, "Congratulations, now we're 50-50 partners on my new adventure. I thought he was going to smack me." And I told him what I did and stuff, and he says, "Oh," he says, if you think we can do it, we can do it." And we did, and he was successful. The steakhouse was very successful.
So you had ambition.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, ambition,
yes,
and you still have it.
And drive.
And drive, And that really was a component.
The component was that the biggest component that drives everything, I guess, is to make sure you can support your family, and that was the big thing. Do I have enough money for us? Anything happens to me, do my parents can make it? To that, anything happens to them, can I make it?
The basics.
Know what I'm saying? The basics in life, of course.
So coming back to the restaurant, see if I have this right. I tried to do a little study. 71 to 81, it was all ranch restaurant.
Ranch restaurant.
Just steak,
breakfast, lunch, and a little bit of dinner. Yes.
And then from 81 to about 91, it was basically Greek cuisine.
Greek cuisine, totally
Greek cuisine, Greek cuisine. And then from 91 to now, it's been a mix, mostly American.
It's been mostly American because when my cousin left and went back to Chicago, and we bought each other out to clean slate and all that, and I was doing the cooking in the back with another young man that I had back there, chef, and we did good and stuff, and then I got hurt. At that time, you couldn't find somebody that you can just grab and say, "Fill in for us," you know what I'm saying? So when I got hurt, I thought it over, and I told my wife, I said, it's going to be embarrassing to go broke because I can't be there to take care of it. I said, but so we have enough help, and you and all of us, I think we're going to close down dinner and we're going to go breakfast, lunch. And at that time, my father also was not 100% either, you know what I'm saying? So we did. We closed down the dinner. I don't remember the year, but we closed down the dinner, and after Valentine's Day, I believe it was. And we went breakfast, lunch.
Breakfast and lunch.
And then
you open at 6 and you close at 2.
And then COVID hit, and I was at the country inn, my wife was here, and she says, I can do 7 days a week. So we went to 5 days a week, 8 hours a day, and we're still here.
That's, thank goodness, it's been a blessing.
It is.
Let me ask you about two things, because we kind of talked about this before. But the hard work, the craftsmanship with the food, because it's, you came from Greece, and the passion you brought with you for the food, because I've noticed that the Greek influence is there with your chicken, with your other foods.
Yes.
Talk about that a little bit, the hard work that went into it.
The hard work that went into it mostly, it's the food you grew up with, basically, it wasn't a Greek recipe, it was my mother's, my grandmother's recipe that was passed on, and the taste is up to the individual. The chef plays a lot of trick, or the cook plays a lot of trick how they taste the food and what they present for the customer. It could be the same recipe, but it has a little difference. If Gus made it, George made it, Bill made it. You know what I'm saying? So it's not a frozen product. It's going to come out the same every day.
Right.
But it is different for everybody, because a family is a little different. You didn't have maybe this spice. You had this spice. Then you substitute it with, and you couldn't afford this spice. You substitute, and that's how the recipe itself was developed. We grew up with the simple foods, with a pasticcio, spinacopita, dolmadas, chickens. Lamb, of course, was a product that was every day. Especially here, not as much at home, because we used to sell them to make a little money instead. You couldn't eat them all,
Right.
But those were the things that you grew up with.
The other thing I wanted to ask you was regarding how you got financed here, if you want to talk about that a little bit. Because that was a challenge, wasn't it?
It was.
Yeah.
It was. I'll never forget this. We got ready. I remember it was Whiteside Construction when we decided to do the Paragon and remodel it and extend it to the front, 10 feet. So they came in, they drew all the plans and stuff, told us a little bit about how much it was going to cost and things. And okay, so I decided, okay, well, I'm going to go to the bank. Our bank's down the street, right across the street. I'm going to ask you for finance, you know. So I went down there and I told them what I was looking for to the young lady, I believe it was at the time. And she told me she needed so many paperwork, so much of this, and that. My head got about this big with that idea of financing. And I came back and I said, you know, I'm going to start building. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
And that's what we did. Yeah, the sad part was that's exactly what I did. I mean, Whiteside came in, they started doing their work and stuff. And I just kept writing checks. And I remember, now my cousin, no, he was here at the time. Yeah, he was here. And he says, we got money? I said, we ain't got no money. You know, we have a little bit of money, but nothing what we're going to need. But we'll make it. So I kept writing checks. I know I had no money in the bank. The bank would pay the checks. And it was fascinating to myself. And I didn't want to say a word in case the bank had made a mistake and they were covering him. I didn't want to wake him up and come calling on me to pay him. I had no money, you know. And my father was in the same boat. He says, I don't know what you're doing. He says, but we're gonna get ourselves into that. I said, no, I think we're gonna be all right. So anyway, it went on, and it was almost finished when I went to the bank. And I forget that Bob was his first name. I forget his last name. He was the president of the bank, West Greeley National at the time.
Yeah, I remember, yeah.
And I went over there and we sat down and I said, I owe you a lot of money. He said, yes, you do. And he gave me the amount that I owed. And now, you got to remember, back then, interest was between 19 and 21%.
19 and 21%.
Yeah, 21%,
wow.
and it was in there.
Yeah.
He says, yep. I said, I just want to ask you something. He says, what? He says, why did you cover my checks? Simple as that. He says, huh? He says, I drove every day to come to work, and every day that I drove by, he says, I looked at the restaurant, and you was making progress. You wasn't stopping, you was working. He says, every day I went by, I felt my collateral was guaranteed.
Wow.
You know? And he finished, he filled out, I think it was 4 or 5 pieces of paper, not 10,000 that we have to fill out today. You know, and we signed them, and we said, thank you very, very much. And we took out the loan, and we went to work, and we paid it off very fast.
Well, that's something that's kind of unheard of today.
In today's market, you won't find it.
No, it's a beautiful thing of the past.
It was a relationship, you know. I remember Whiteside, we drew the plans on a napkin about what I wanted to do. And they took it from there, you know what I'm saying. And then Pinkston's construction finished the inside. And he was the same way, wonderful guy.
But you believed.
Yes.
You believed. And that's, I guess maybe that's a message that's coming across. He believed. He believed in what he was doing. Look what happened.
We did.
You know, positive thinking.
We weren't thinking about so much how we're going to make the money, okay, or for ourselves. It was a matter of survival, pay our bills, raise our kids. If there's any left over, we'll have fun.
That's right.
Or we'll save it, and we'll save it, of course. But, and I'd say this to a lot of people, if my stores were corporate-owned stores, most likely they would have been closed down a long time ago.
Right.
Because the bottom line is not what corporate people are looking for. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And there were some great years in there between. It wasn't all down and up, you know what I'm saying? It's a business like a stock market, up and down. Mm-hmm. You know. And then I had some great friends here in town, Mr. Fontes, Paul Lepignotis, Giallotti, Frank, all these people, you know, that we knew. And we all got together, we all shot the breeze a little bit and drank coffee and talked about the future.
You bet.
You know, that was a big thing. But
beautiful story. Tell me about the sacrifice of hours. You talked about your wife putting in all that time.
Yes.
Yourself putting in all that time. Talk about those hours.
The hours came, you know, The restaurant used to open at 5 in the morning.
Yeah.
We had to be here at 4 o'clock for this one to get started, okay? Get everything ready. We used to make everything, I mean, from our own gravy sauce to our roux, to whatever. Everything was made right here. The bones were boiling in the pot, you know. The meat was hand cut. Everything we did, we cut it ourselves. It was a way to present it to the customer at a cheaper price and a profit margin that suited the price. You know what I'm saying? Very little things that came in, very little waste in this restaurant. You can't have waste and profit at the same time.
Right.
You know, we sacrificed that. Now, when we started the ranches, my dad opened this up. We opened at 5:30 here, and I opened at 5:30 downtown at the other ranch. When we got the country Inn opened up at 5:30, and this one opened up at 5:30. Then the steakhouse opened up at 11 for lunch and dinner only. You know. Now, in the last few years, since then, and me and my wife have been running this, and the others, we used to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning, get ready, be here by 3:30, get this one ready to go by 4:15, be at the country Inn by then, get that one ready to go. 5:45, she was back up here to open this one, and I stayed down at the other one. And this went on for many, many years.
That's amazing. The customers, you have seen them have kids, grandkids.
I've seen grandkids grow up becoming grandpas.
Wow, that's something.
You know, and they still come in here, and it's the most wonderful feeling.
Yeah.
Where was I the other day? I think I was in a doctor's office.
Yeah.
And a young lady came up to me and says, "Do you remember me?" I said, "I'm sorry, I don't." She says, "I worked for you." You know, how wonderful to see people in all kinds of different fields.
Yeah.
They'll come up to you and say, "You know, I worked for you." And we did. We had a lot of employees. Some of them didn't like us. Some of us liked us.
You were saying 25 years?
Oh,
20
yes.
years?
Most of my employees for the Country Inn and for the Paragon been with us for a long, long time.
Yeah.
My cooks back there and stuff, I would say Jose's been here 25 years plus. So is everybody else. At the Country Inn, before I sold it, I would say I had 3 cooks that retired after 25 years of service. You know? And there's my other people that work both places are still there. Been 20, 25 years. Waitresses, 20 years, 25 years.
Yeah.
Waiters, I have waitresses that came in to just think about getting their first job at the age of 14, and they're still working for me.
Wow.
And their kids now want a job.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? And it became a family. It didn't become, it wasn't employment, it was family.
Family.
I treated them like family, and they treated me the same way, you know. And my wife. I mean, there was nothing that we could not ask them to do. They wouldn't do it, and there was nothing I would not do that I would not ask them to do. You know what I'm saying? It's just a personal deal, and that's how I was raised. That's how I brought it forward. That's how I respected them. And they were not all good. I had some that, you know, they weren't that good. I kept as much as I could. We tried to correct them. If you can, it's business. You have to let it go.
That's right. That's right.
But for the most of it, it's been good.
Well, that's wonderful to hear. That's wonderful to hear. So as we finish here, I just want you to kind of talk to the camera. By the way, before I do that, let me just say this. You come here, you get the food, which is phenomenal. But you also get with that food this history, this culture, this, you know, there's a lot of stories. And it's an amazing place for all of that. And you got the address at the beginning. I hope you try it out and come and see it.
Thank you.
But let me just say this also, that I got some gyros to go. Gyros, that's one of my favorites.
Thank you.
In a pita bread, and it's just fantastic. Very delicious. My mouth's watering already. But let me just ask you to talk about the things that it takes for young people to go into business today. Passion, I think you said.
Passion is the number one thing.
Yeah.
Okay? Pick a business, regardless whether it's restaurants, whatever, that you enjoy doing.
Yeah.
If you're going to go in the hospitality business, it's not short hours, number one. Number two is you gotta love people.
You love
You
people.
don't sell shoes, you're selling food.
Yeah, that's right.
So, you know, you gotta love people. It's how you present it, it's how you satisfy the customer. Like I said before, it's not always for the money. It's hard to get a customer. I remember the big thing one time, this is funny, because a lot of people will read my menu, okay, and I make my own menus. And they say, hey, did you know your menu is misspelled? And I said, yeah, I paid $37 in 70, what the heck, it was 77, 78, to go to a seminar and find out how you can get people to see if they read what you wrote, whether it was a sign that you put up or your menu. And the guy says, misspell something and see how many people tell you that you did.
So they notice it, yeah.
Yes. I even tried to get the Greeley Tribune years ago.
Yeah.
Who we used to advertise with them. I said, can you print this upside down? And they tell me no, because they would think the Greeley Tribune was nuts.
Wow, wow.
You know, and I paid for that. I'll never forget it, because, you know, it is interesting. And I had a lot of people, what is that supposed to say? Why? What's wrong with it?
Yeah, right.
You know, if you read it, I felt good that you read my menu. If you questioned it, I felt great and appreciated that you noticed my misspelling. And it's not that I couldn't find how to spell it. I'm not an educated person. But yes, I could find it from whether it was Google or ask my wife. And she hates it when I do things like that.
That's right.
But
That's right.
that was the deal.
And I think the other thing you said was consistency.
Consistency is the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Yes, consistency. If you walked into anything today and you liked it and it's consistent, you will love it tomorrow too. You know, but if you went back tomorrow, it wasn't consistent. It was just one day fluke.
Well, George, it's been great.
Well, thank you very much. I
Thank
appreciate
you,
it a lot.
and I'm going to go enjoy that Euro sandwich. Thank you
do
so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you very, very
Thank you.
much.
This is Payman
Take care of
Javadi.
yourselves.
This is Payman Javadi with Topics with Mr. Javadi. New channel. Check it out. Come and eat the food here. It's an awesome place.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Take care.